I'm going to give you hints along the way, and you come up with the diagnosis. First hint, typically the problems are going to be on this lateral claw, either in the white line or in that ulcer area, but not today's. This is going to be on the medial claw, up high, right here. That's your first hint. Let's get started on this and see what happens. See if you can figure out the problem. First things first, we'll give this dew claw a quick trim up. So as I get started with this trim, I'm going to give you some background information and some tendencies associated with this particular problem or this particular lesion. First thing you see that little mark right in the sole here? That separation is going to work up at about a 45-degree angle right where that heel bulb and that sole meet. Number one. Another tendency of this particular problem is that it often shows up on the medial claw and not on the lateral. Now, even though the lateral tends to take a lot of that ground force, that impact force when a cow takes a step, this problem shows up on the medial claw more so than the lateral. Here you can get a good view of the location of that particular mark in the sole, and this location is another dead giveaway to this particular problem. As I begin to pare away here, you're going to notice the angle at which that mark in the sole runs and where that separation is. It's at almost a 45-degree angle right up and going to work its way into that heel bulb area. Now, another common thing with this is it's associated oftentimes with excessive standing times in the summer months, although my personal belief that there's more to it than just standing based on the location and the orientation of these particular lesions. Now, what's happening here is that this sole and this heel bulb area are actually shearing away from the foot itself. That tells me that there's more than just excessive standing, that there's probably some shear force involved here with this particular lesion. Have you figured it out yet? Well, you got time, don't worry. Now, another tidbit of information from the trimmer's perspective is that these lesions tend to heal really easily once treated. They can show some signs of lameness because it is on that medial claw. However, after treatment, these heal up nicely and that heel bulb fills in quite quickly. As we get closer here, you can see where that mark started and you can see where it's progressed so far. We're almost there now. All right, are you ready for the answer? Okay, now be honest, truthful. How many of you said that this was a sole ulcer? Well, if you did, you're wrong. That's not what this is. The correct answer, this is actually called a sole fracture. Even though it has the appearance of a typical sole ulcer, it's not located in that typical sole ulcer spot. It's much higher, and as we've mentioned, it's on the opposite toe that we usually see. That typical sole ulcer, that's usually associated with pressure from the pedal bone, and that's going to be on the lateral claw, which is the one that I'm putting the block on right now. And yes, I'm putting the block on this claw now to take the weight off that medial. Here you can see exactly what that looks like. We're going to get this sprayed up and treated with our salicylic acid, much like we would with any other lesion. As I mentioned earlier, these sole fractures tend to heal quite well. If you want to see what that looks like, follow along. In the coming weeks, we'll bring her back in the chute and take a look.